Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Optimized Ecommerce Podcast. I'm Tanner Larsson, and today we're going to be talking about customer avatars. Okay. This is something that you hear about, you read about, but nobody really talks about the tactical, practical way of actually utilizing avatars and why they're so important. And in e-commerce, it's one of the things that we see overlooked a lot. Today I'm joined by Dominik Meiu, one of our longtime ROs, youngest RO ever on the team. Been working with us since I think he was 16, and now he's a little bit older. Still looks young, but he's definitely one of our rock stars. And anyway, Dom's he comes to our events. He talks on the podcast. He works in our groups. He works with our clients, and at our events, it's very apparent when you ask a question. We do like roundtables where our team sits down with a whole bunch of people and they can just rapid fire questions and get help from the team. And a lot of the times we'll ask a question like, well, who's your avatar or who's your ideal customer? And then watch the store owner stutter and not be able to answer the question, or say, oh, well, my avatar is men, or my avatar is women who play soccer or something like that. And that's not your avatar. So there's a whole deeper dig in that you need to get into to do this. And we're going to talk about it specifically from an e-commerce focus, since that's the focus of this podcast. So we're going to jump right into that right now. So Dom, thanks for joining us today.
Of course. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and jump right in with it. And why don't you just give people an overview of what a customer avatar is, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty.
Right. So a customer avatar is basically just a representation of your ideal customer, or the type of person that you want to actually purchase your products or your services, whatever you're selling. And like you said, it should be detailed. Like it shouldn't be something, where I'm selling to men. You should be very kind of segmented down into exactly what you're selling. So if I go into an example, maybe you're selling outdoors type products like tents, camping gear, things like that. So, you want to actually segment your avatar down very, very specifically. So you want to go gender, you want to do maybe what they're interested in. So obviously if it's a camping gear, they're going to be interested in outdoors activities, maybe like fishing, camping, grilling, even things like that. And you can even go down to giving them an age, giving them a name. Even I typically will name my customer avatars. This is Greg, who likes to fish, grill, and hunt, and this is who I'm selling to with all my products. And he's 38 years old. He has 2 kids, stuff like that. It should be very, very specific. And like you said, a lot of people don't actually know this, or it's a very broad idea, which isn't helping anything when it actually comes to your marketing, comes to your copywriting, your images that you're using on your site. Everything that you should actually be utilizing is based off of this customer avatar. So if you're new to the industry and you don't have a big audience yet, or your even products, develop your avatar first and then create products to that avatar.
Yep. So you touched on a little bit of why it's important, but is there anything else you want to say about why avatars are important to utilize?
Yeah, I mean, it'll just basically help you segment everything that you're doing and organize you into more details. And in the end, like make you more money, right? Because if you're spending a lot of money, let's say on Facebook marketing, and you don't know your avatar, you don't know who you want to advertise to, your ROI is going to be a lot less than if you segment that down very specifically. So same even with when it comes to CRO or RO, and conversion rates, right? I mean, you want to make your copywriting towards this specific person, your images towards this specific person. So everything will increase that ROI when you're actually organized and detailed. Even your post-purchase email marketing, everything like that should all be very detailed to this, which will then increase your ROI and decrease your kind of, where am I going with this? Decrease the overspending on the kind of over detailed or not enough detailed audience.
Gotcha. Yeah. And guys, this is I didn't, when I was first getting going into this, I heard avatars talked about in marketing books and things like that. And I kind of brushed it off with a grain of salt and didn't think much about it until I started bending and wondering why am I, not only spending on ads, why aren't they converting? Why isn't the traffic that's coming to my page converting? And because I wrote the copy, or I wrote the sales page, or I created the stuff, and I tried to appeal to everybody. I tried to appeal to everybody who could possibly ever use this product. And the problem there is it's like if you're fishing, if you are fishing for small fish and you cast a net that has it's like really wide gaps in the net, the fish are going to swim right through the net. Okay. So the idea is not to cast this huge wide net that has all these gaps in it, but this tighter weave net that just can catch everything, right? Catch the specific people that are going to get. And then the ones that you're not supposed to get will slip through the net, right? That's kind of the idea there. And it makes a huge difference. It makes it easier too. Like when you're writing your copy and you're trying to jam all these things in that would appeal to every person, it's hard to do that. But when you've created a customer avatar and you're talking to Greg, who likes to camp, hunt, and fish, who has 2 kids, is married and, is a blue collar worker, all of a sudden you're like, hey, I'm just going to dial this product in for Greg. I'm going to write my emails to Greg. I'm going to make my Facebook ads appeal to Greg. Now, you could have multiple customer avatars. That's totally fine. Sometimes you have, if you sell to men and women, you're at least going to have a male and female avatar. And that's not to say that people who aren't your avatar won't buy, but whoever your targeted customers that you're really going after, that's who you want to speak to, because that's where you're going to get your best return. And crazy thing is, other people will still buy as well. And over time, you may actually wind up evolving your avatar or developing a second avatar when you find different demographics that appeal to your product.
Mm-hmm.
So let's dive into this. Like, how do we actually create a customer avatar? What does someone need to do to, obviously they don't want to just pick stuff out of thin air. How do they do it?
Right. So, it kind of depends on where you're at in the selling stage, right? Are you brand new to this space? Do you have products that you have sold maybe a little bit of or not even sold any of? Do you have products even created? Or are you a year down the line and now you're realizing you don't even have an avatar? So I guess I'll start with the kind of newbies to the space that maybe just generated a product, but they don't really have a lot of data on their customers and who's buying things. So, ideally you want to base this off of data, but you should always have an idea before you actually have that data. So for anybody that's kind of new, you want to basically think who exactly is going to be buying this product? Like, what is the ideal customer that's going to be purchasing this? So kind of like what I did earlier with Greg, right? I'm selling outdoor gear. I'm selling tents, camping gear. Now, what kind of person is actually going to be buying that? What other things are they going to be interested in? So when I said, Greg, he also likes fishing. He likes to grill. Like you said, he's a blue collar worker. You really want to segment it down into those very specific details and kind of capture that ideal person that's going to be buying those. So I guess, that's kind of where you want to start if you don't have a lot of data coming from your customers. If you just have, a new product that you want to kind of generate an avatar to, it's brainstorm and, maybe utilize different people as well. Utilize your entire team, utilize your husband or your wife to help you kind of generate these ideas too. Or even think of like a real person, right? What one of your friends is going to be really buying this product? What are they really into? And kind of just use stuff like that to really generate that avatar. And like you said earlier, you definitely can have more than one. You probably should have more than one, especially if it's, male, female, things like that. So I guess that's how you kind of generate one. If you don't have a product yet, it's going to be, a lot of just mental thinking, brainstorming, write everything down, and then kind of segment it down into specific details.
And then as you get the data, you can refine it to what actually
exactly
it is. Yeah.
And then I guess moving to the other scenario, you're a year down the line, you're doing okay, you're making sales, but you kind of realize you don't have an avatar yet. So that's when you want to really utilize that data, dive into your customers' demographic. You should be able to see that. Hopefully you're tracking through like GA or things like that. And you can even run polls. polls and surveys to capture this kind of data. Ask them what they're into, ask them about themselves, ask them what their hobbies are, ask them what they're using your product for, things like that. Ask them what their occupation is. I actually have, I was working with a client where we sent out a post purchase email survey that basically had like 10 of those questions, where we were asking them, tell me a little bit about yourself. What do you do? What are your hobbies? What are you actually using this product for? So it was like a car sealant product. So I wanted to know, are a lot of people using this on muscle cars? Are a lot of them using it on motorcycles, just standard cars, things like that? Because that's going to matter, right? It's a specific kind of audience that drives motorcycles compared to just like a sedan or something like that. So use that data, use those polls, ask your actual customers, and then kind of take all of that data and segment it out to where, if you're getting the most responses are people riding motorcycles, then add that to your customer avatar, right? Take the averages of the ages of your customers, are they male or female? And then what other hobbies are they into? And then kind of generate your customer avatar based off of that. So even if you start here, right, where you're new, you don't have much data, a year down the line or 6 months, whenever you're starting to make, more and more sales, reevaluate your customer avatar. It doesn't have to stay the same. Things evolve, e-commerce evolves. So evolve your customer avatar with the market.
Mm-hmm. And another good thing there about where you're talking about the car products company we were working with. So they actually, because their product can work on all different types of vehicles, including boats and things like that, they actually wound up having multiple avatars. They had the boat buyer, they had, or the boater, they had the motorcycle guy, they had the high-end car guy, and then they had, which the massive majority of their customer base was just, the Honda driving, the Accord driving kind of guy. And looking at that's 4 different avatars. Okay. Now, do all companies need that? No, but in their case, they did. And the cool thing is when you have an avatar, you can actually build out a dedicated sales process or dedicated customer journey for each of those avatars. So you don't have to send all 4 avatars to the same product page. You could actually build out a duplicate product page or a lander that speaks specifically to the motorcycle crowd. So you run a motorcycle ad for the product to the motorcycle audience with that demographic, that avatar, and you send them to a lander that sells the exact same product, but all the highlights are benefiting the motorcycle guy. And then you have another lander that may say a lot of the same things, but the imagery is now for boats. And then the language has changed to be more boat-ish, right? And then you are speaking to that avatar. And there's 4 avatars there, but the boat guy, he may be 60 years old. The motorcycle guy may be in his 20s or 30s or 40s, and the Honda guy may be in his 30s. Or maybe the Honda is as a woman, who knows? But wherever that is, and you could take your data from there to figure that out. But don't think you're pigeonholed to just one avatar if your business winds up needing more. But don't go out of your way to create a bunch of avatars just to do it. Like as an example, there would be if this car product, if they didn't know that boaters, they're like, oh yeah, you can use it on boats, but they haven't had any boat people buying it, then don't worry about developing the customer avatar for that yet until you get some data that it's working, or you've already proven your other avatars out that's working, and then you want to test a new market.
Yep, exactly. And we actually did that with this client, and it was a huge, huge, huge win. We created a motorcycle specific landing page just through Zipify, motorcycle specific marketing, so Facebook ads like that, and the ROI on those ads significantly increased. And then something we actually did as well was on the general sales page was kind of took all of that stuff and wrote copy to all of those avatars, kind of focusing on the heavier ones. So like the sedans was the heaviest, and then it went to motorcycles, and then it went to high-end cars. So I kind of, put most emphasis on the sedans and then a little on the motorcycles, a little bit on the high-end cars as well. And we ended up testing kind of a new product page, and it beat the original by, I think it was like 40%. It was the biggest win I've ever found, just by switching up the copy to the specific customer avatar. Well, 3 customer avatars actually. Mm-hmm. So we went a couple routes with that. Like you said, creating the specific funnels for those people, is going to be huge. And they can be very similar, like you said too. I mean, just very subtle changes are key. Maybe the only difference could even be the images. You're just pushing motorcycle images more than sport cars or things like that. And just very subtle changes can make a very large difference to that audience.
Absolutely. Another thing, guys, I want to give you a little tip on is if you have a business that's already run, it's doing well, and you really want to get real deep into your customer data and figure out commonalities and areas of overlap and interest that you never knew about. There's a company called Tower Data. And you can, basically what you do is you take your customer list or a segment of your customer list. And if you have a huge customer list, I highly recommend you take a segment, like figure out who your best buyers are. But if you have a smaller list, you could do it because they're expensive. But what you do is you take that customer data, you upload it to Tower Data system, and they will data match it. They're a big data aggregator. So they will data match it to any other information they have on that same person that's matched by email and phone number and address and whatever they can do. They'll pull in everything from like what magazine subscriptions do they have, what credit lines or credit cards do they use, what how many homes have they owned, or do they live in an apartment, or where do they shop, what's their average spending, all kinds of things from like associations to sports preferences, all kinds of data. You'd be surprised at what they have. I think the last time I saw there was, on the basic plan, there was over 60 different data points you could match up to, and you can select which ones you want, or you can let them do it for you. And when you get that back, all of a sudden you find out crazy stuff like Greg, the hunting fishing guy, who happens to also subscribe to Southern Living magazine, which makes no sense because that's a woman's magazine. But for some reason, Greg subscribes to Southern Living, and you see that it'll show you percentages like a Venn diagram of, man, 60% of your customers subscribe to Southern Living, and another 30% of your customers subscribe to Road and Track or whatever it happens to be. And then there's what websites they frequent and all these different things. And you figure out other interests that they have, and then you're able to target in all different ways. You can speak to the customer differently. You could even, sometimes you could even figure out other products that they buy and figure out other things you should develop for your store. But it's something that we do on any brand that we personally own. We always get a Tower Data report on our customers because it allows us to just, nowhere else you're going to get that kind of deep dive data on your customers. You'll get age ranges. You'll get so much more than what you have yourself. Now, you do pay through the nose for it, but if you use that data, it can be super, super valuable.
That's cool.
So, Dom, I know I went off my own little ramble there. This is really kind of your game, but why don't we jump into some specific things you want to have in the avatar? We talked about how to build it, but like, what are some things you want, like demographics? Like, kind of go through the list of things you need to have.
Yeah, so you want demographics, which includes, age, gender, maybe even where they're located, geographical stuff. Definitely you want to have interests. So obviously, the main interest should apply to your product, but they'll have more than one interest, more than one hobby. What else are they interested in? So going back to the Greg guy, he likes camping, but along with camping, he likes to fish, he likes to hunt, he likes to grill, he watches football maybe on Sundays, stuff like that. Develop a very detailed kind of hobby list of these people. So I think there's anything else. Yeah, I mean, even if you can do the tower data.
Yep, Tower Data.
Tower Data. What else are they subscribing to? Well, what are they reading? What websites are they a lot? I think probably through Tower Data is the only way you can find out that data, but that's super valuable. You can do that a lot of different ways. So I'd say baseline, definitely age, gender, location, interests, hobbies, all of that. And then if you want to get into the more detailed stuff, like you were just talking about, what are they subscribed to? What websites are they looking at? What shows do they watch? All of that kind of stuff. Do they watch TV?
Yep. So, and depending on your product or what you're selling, it also helps to also know like marital status, divorced, married, single. Do they have kids? If they have kids, how many? What ages? Like what age range? They don't have to know the exact ages, but like, are they grown kids that have left the nest? Are they toddlers, infants, babies, things like that? Also, political status. Like, depending on what you're selling, you may need to know, or it may help you to know, because like you may be selling a product, which would be odd, but you could be selling a product that, is typically more of your customers are Democrats, but your language and you yourself is more Republican. So if you're expressing those views, you might be alienating your customer base. Okay. So, obviously that's getting political and stuff, but those kind of things do happen. And there a lot of the time you don't know what's going on if you don't have that data. But if you do, then you can align yourself with your customers, align your business with your customers, and do a lot better.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. Political stuff is very, very important. Because like you said, I mean, if your language is more on one side, but the customers that are driving to your site are on the other, that's going to completely, eat those sales. So yeah, that's a really good point.
Yep. So the other thing I wanted you to kind of dig into a little bit is, I know we see this a lot too at the events and different things, is how do people screw up their avatars? What mistakes do they make when they're putting together their avatar?
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess the biggest one that we see, and we've kind of touched on already, is lack of detail. I mean, they need to be detailed to everything that we just said before with the hobbies, the ages, with the political stuff. If it's not detailed, then that's not a real avatar. Even if you think it's like a woman who plays soccer, that's still not detailed. It needs to be very, very specific. It needs to be a real person. Like you're actually generating a real customer. So I'd say that's the most common mistake, is just lack of detail. Another one that I've seen a lot is, I'm trying to think of how to say this. Generating an avatar that you think is the avatar, but it's not. So a lot of the times you see owners like, yeah, I know my audience, I know my customers, and it's very, very wrong. So utilizing actual data to build those customers is key. And if you don't have that data, then it's a little bit harder, but there's still going to be ways to generate that, right? I mean, you can do user testing, you can ask your friends, your family, things like that. Because if you just always think you're right, chances are there's probably a lot that's inaccurate.
Mm-hmm. And that's the same people that are always like, well, I'm my avatar. That's why I started this business, because I'm the downhill mountain biking guy and I couldn't find what I needed. So I created this product and I'm my avatar. Mm-hmm. And the reality is yeah, at some point in your life, you were the avatar but the minute you became a business owner and started selling to the audience, you have different shifts that have happened in your brain that you're not even aware of, that differentiate you from the actual customer avatar. So you are no longer your customer avatar, and you don't think about things the same way, from the same perspective or anything. Now, you may be more in tune with your audience and be able to speak their language better because you are in it. But using yourself as the avatar is also not an effective way to do it, because business owners are not the business owner of the business is not the person who's buying.
Yep, exactly. That's a really good point there. And then I guess I'd lastly just say not reevaluating your avatar on a basis. Whether you do that quarterly, bi-quarterly, or at least annually, you need to actually reevaluate this avatar and update it.
Yep.
E-commerce is always changing. So is your avatar. So is your audience.
Yeah, we've had a client, and you actually, I think you worked on their store. They were in a sewing niche, and their original avatar, they thought that was younger women. And it turned out that that was what it originally was, but they hadn't checked it in years, and they kept marketing to this younger demographic, but all their sales were coming from an older demographic. And so the imagery wasn't lining up, nothing. And when we fixed that for them and showed them that, they changed their messaging, they changed their advertising, and boom, sales took off again. But that was they weren't doing it out of like not caring. They're like, hey, we developed our avatar. We know our avatar is this, but like Dom was saying, it evolved over time, and they never bothered to check the data against the old avatar. And just because you start out selling to one audience, it's typically when you first start out with an ads or to an audience, it's like lucky. You found an audience that's converting. You don't exactly know why it's converting, but cool, I got this. That doesn't necessarily mean that's your golden honeypot avatar. It's just your current avatar. And as you continue to sell and scale, you'll find out more data. So you need to continuously, maybe every 6 months or so, every quarter, look back at your avatar and see if it's evolving. Any more frequently than that, and you're really gonna make it hard for you guys to make any progress because you're going to be constantly changing everything and you're not allowing enough time for tests and everything else to run.
Need that data to actually come in.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, I definitely say those are probably the most common mistakes. Just A, not being detailed enough. B, thinking you have the right avatar that's definitely not the right avatar. And C, not reevaluating your avatar enough. And yeah, like you said, quarterly, bi-yearly or twice annually, I guess, is more than enough.
Yes. Okay, so why don't we give them some specific areas like, hey, if you have your business, you're operating, you're selling, you realize you listen to this podcast, you're like, crap, I need to develop an avatar. You develop an avatar. Now, what do I do with it? How do I use it to make more sales? What specific things can I apply it to?
Exactly. So you need to apply that to the entire funnel, and you actually need to make sure you apply that to the entire funnel. Make sure that your marketing, your website, your post-purchase email stuff is all the same. It's all written to the same avatar. So I guess we'll just dive into the marketing side. So write your Facebook ads, the images you're using in your ads, your Google ads, your keywords that you're ranking in. All of those things should be written for your avatar. And then that kind of flows into your website side of things. Make the copy on your website specifically for that person, for that avatar. What does Greg want to see when he lands on this camping site? What does he want to, visually see through the images? What does he want to read? Is he a reader? Should you have more copy or should you have more images? Even things like that. And then same with your post-purchase stuff, your email flows, your SMS flows, all of that kind of stuff should all be correlated to the specific avatar. So I'm kind of emphasizing that so much because you need to make sure that is all updated. Don't only go and update your marketing and then, sell to Greg on marketing really well. And then Greg lands on your site and everything on your site's made for Marsha or, they're all very, very correlated with each other. So it's going to be mainly images. It's going to be copy. And then, you can even get into product development and stuff like that. What kind of product is Greg looking for, whether that's a new product or a change on your current product, to make it more suited for that audience, for that person.
Even things down to colors and, if you're, we got pink, but is Greg going to want pink? Then you start selling and you realize that, hey, we spent a bunch of money getting pink tents and we've only sold 5 pink tents. And now we've got $20,000 tied up in inventory in pink tents that we can't sell. Mm-hmm. So, you really got to kind of look into all that. But the other thing about the avatar that we found really, really effective is once you have it written up, and the way you do this, the way we recommend is write it out like a story. And one of the best ways to start this story when you're first writing it out, you can remove it later because people have a hard time writing, is once upon a time. Tell a story about Greg. Once upon a time, there was this guy named Greg. He lived in so-and-so and he was married to so-and-so and he did this and this. Write that out and then get rid of the once upon a time and rewrite that, what you've already written, into a cohesive paragraph that it's a biography of him, right? Then give him a name if you haven't already done that. The name should come after you write the story. And the name, each step gets a little harder because you write the story about the person and then you have to come up with a name that fits that person. And then what we like to do is go to Google and you can search for royalty-free images and free faces and stuff. And there's people that allow you to use their image for things, but go find an image of someone who actually looks like the person that you're talking about. And once you've done this, if you've written this out, it's hard to find an image that matches Greg. But once you find that person, then you'll know, and you put that on there, and you have this PDF that you can give out. So your Facebook ad guys need it. Your copywriter needs it. Whoever's doing that, if it's not you, if you have a team, your product people, everybody on your team should have this avatar. It should be posted up. They should all have a copy of it and know that they're using it. If you hire an email marketing agency, the first thing you should be doing once you've onboarded is give them a copy of your avatar. Say, hey, this is who we write to. And if you have multiple avatars, this is how we do this. And if you have multiple funnels, well, this is the avatar for this funnel and this is the avatar for this funnel. But you don't want to just know it yourself. It doesn't help that. You need your whole team or anybody who's encountering and working with you to know that, so that everybody's on the same page.
Yep, definitely agree with that.
So we've talked about how you can have, more than one avatar. We've talked about how to, dial in your avatar, what not to do with your avatar. Anything else you want to leave them with?
Um, I guess again, I just want to emphasize kind of how important this is and how forgotten it tends to be through the industry. Especially with the details. That's really the thing I see the most is a lot of people will think they have an avatar, but they really don't. So dive into your avatar today. If you don't have one, create one. If you do have one, look into it. When was the last time that you actually evaluated it? Is it actually based on data? Is it accurate? Ask your customers this kind of stuff. Set up that post-purchase email survey right now. Just start asking your customers, what they're interested in and who they are, and really build out that detailed avatar. Add a face to it, add a name. It should be a real person, like in your head. It shouldn't be a customer avatar anymore. It's Greg. that that's really very key, and you'll see the benefits instantly. Like really, once you do that, and once you're able to kind of pivot that direction, you'll immediately see better ROI.
Yeah, and you can also use it to make your decisions on something new you're going to do. Like, if you have a meeting, have one of your team members be Greg, right? And their job is to think like Greg as you guys are having your discussion about what you're going to do in the company or what you're going to change on the product or whatever. And then the person being Greg, his job is to like, yeah, I like that, or no, I wouldn't. I don't think I'd like that. And then you can be like, oh, hey, if our avatar doesn't like it, why are we doing it? Mm-hmm. And same thing with optimizations. You can apply it like, is this a Greg thing or not?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I mean, it should always be in the back of your head.
Yeah.
Greg should always be in there. So yeah,
he's a stalker. He won't go away, right? You got to keep using him.
Exactly.
Well, awesome, bro. Hey, this was great. Thank you so much. Guys, right now, what I need you to do is first and foremost, make a note, set some time aside on your calendar to work on your customer avatar, revisit it, compare it to some data, maybe even check out Tower Data and see if you want to get even crazier about your avatar and your demographics, and do that. Don't just listen to this stuff, like actually take action and do it. And the next thing I need to do is to make sure you are subscribed to this podcast wherever you're listening to it. And if you're also on iTunes, subscribe there as well, because it's a YouTube, it's a video podcast as well. And then if you want show notes or you need links to any of the stuff we're doing, go to buildgrowscale.com/podcast. And you can get links and show notes and everything you need right there. With that, guys, we will see you next time. Have a great day. Have a great week. See ya.